Hello, welcome to May 2022 astrology time. I want to start with the solar eclipse, even though it's April 30th. Technically not in May, but I'm going to try to get this video up before then so we can talk about the eclipse. So eclipse season has begun, and a lot of astrologers kind of have a little bit of a doom and gloom attitude about eclipses. Think of eclipses as full moons on steroids or new moons on steroids, okay? The the partial solar eclipse that's happening on Saturday is in Taurus at 10 degrees. I drew up a chart here. Instead of editing, I'm just going to do this real quick, just show you this screen, lazy man style. There it is in Taurus. So how this affects us personally, any eclipse. What I would do is go to your chart and see where, in this case, Taurus is. What house does it rule? So if it's in the second house, this eclipse is going to bring change and probably new beginnings to your finances, to the way you look at your gifts, your talents, the way you can make money with those. If it's in, say, the sixth house, that's your house of health. That might be a good time to go to the doctor, get some labs done, see if you are low on vitamin D or if you're high in cholesterol, and make some big changes in your health. Seventh house, it's probably going to affect your relationships. Doesn't mean you're going to break up or get a divorce, but inevitably there's going to be some change coming in your relationship. And I feel like it's better to be forewarned and forearmed than the ostrich in the sand approach and like pretend that it's not going to happen. Change always is inevitable. Otherwise, we'd be as stagnant as algae on the pond. Nobody wants to be algae on a pond, right? So embrace the change and look in your chart where Taurus is and see, do a little inventory of like where you think you could use some change in that house. It will affect us, but just keep in mind that change is necessary, and everything's gotta ebb and flow. It's never gonna be always steady, right? So all right, so that's the partial solar eclipse on the 30th. So don't be afraid of it, just embrace the change. All right, now let's move on to the first, May 1st. So Venus is going to go from Pisces, where she is now, into Aries. Now, that is the very first sign of the zodiac. That's the me, it's all about me sign. Fire energy, traditionally like a masculine, assertive energy. All the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sag, are like that. But Aries being the very first fire sign and the very first sign of the zodiac, it's very egocentric. It's very focused on the self. Now, Venus is the planet of beauty and harmony and arts and culture and comfort, food, like all those lovely things. So expect that your love life, you're going to probably start to feel very like, what's important to me? Instead of being like giving to the partner, you're going to want to take a little bit, and that's a good thing. And so embrace that, and don't feel like you're being selfish. Obviously, don't be like a total egomaniac, but everyone's gonna feel like it's my turn. I need something. And as long as you don't let your ego run away with you, great, embrace it. Sometimes, we can be too giving, and this is a good Venus in Aries is a good reminder that we need nurturing too. We can't always be the nurturer, especially for women, because we tend to be like, oh, honey, what do you need? Like it's in our XX chromosome makeup. We can't help it. So Venus in Aries is a good reality check, especially for us ladies. Ladies, okay. On the 5th, we have the Sun conjuncting Uranus, also in Taurus. 14 degrees. So Uranus is the planet of shock and surprise and disruption. The planet itself physically is weird. Like instead of rotating vertically kind of on its axis like all planets, it rotates on its side. It's the only planet that does that. It's going to disrupt public personas, the way we present ourselves to the world. I wouldn't be surprised if we see lots of sudden revelations about things that were always kept under wraps or considered fringe weird stuff. Like, you know how UFOs used to be considered like a fringe weird topic, and people who believed in them were kind of, you know, laughed at, and no more. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that with this Sun conjunct Uranus. On May 10th, we have two aspects going on that are kind of interesting. We have Jupiter moving into Aries, joining Venus there. So Jupiter is like the Santa Claus planet. He brings expansion and growth and
Magnanimity.
to the areas of life that he touches. During this time, competition is not off-putting. It actually is rewarding because it kind of steps us up to, do better. In tarot, the card that reminds me of Jupiter in Aries is the Five of Wands, and that's the card of good-natured competition, where it's not like Mean Girls competition. It's like in the gym when guys are lifting and they, one guy can lift more than the other, and it kind of inspires the other guy to try harder to beat him. Like, it's fun competition, but it's still really good for us nonetheless. Also on the 10th, Mercury is stationing, which means it's ceasing its forward movement. Now, of course, all the planets are moving in the same direction, but from our vantage point on Earth, when a planet goes retrograde, it simply appears to be moving backward in the sky. But before the planets move backwards, they have to kind of slow down, stop, and then go into reverse. So when they do that slow down, stop thing, that's called stationing. And this is when we're going to run into problems with electronics, communication, travel. So double check any kind of travel reservations. Don't sign contracts around when Mercury is stationing. At least I wouldn't, if at all avoidable. Just try not to make reservations on these days. Wait a few days. If you can wait until Mercury is done retrograding, that's probably even better. But definitely during when it's stationing, because you're probably going to run into trouble. So it's usually the first couple of days, and then at the end when Mercury is going to turn forward motion again about 3 weeks from now. So he's going to be in Gemini. Mercury is actually loving being in Gemini. It's his home sign, but Gemini rules, guess what? Travel, communications. So I think it's probably going to be doubly worse, at least the beginning of this Mercury retrograde. So just be really, don't be paranoid. Just be careful. Take extra precautions when traveling and signing contracts, and back up your hard drive and put everything on the cloud and double check that it really went to the cloud. And, forewarned is forearmed. So I'm going to get off my pulpit and move on here. Okay. On the 16th, we have a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Now, unlike the partial solar eclipse on April 30th, this one probably will be gnarly. So, full moons bring endings, culminations. And in Scorpio, the moon does not like to be in Scorpio at all. It has trouble expressing itself. It's very sort of repressed. It's kind of paranoid. It's a little secretive. It's a little like Snoopy going around looking through the phones, kind of, is he cheating on me? That's kind of like Moon in Scorpio. And it is also forming a T-square to Saturn. So what that means is the moon and the sun are in opposite signs, opposite sections of the sky. They're in opposite zodiacal signs. And Saturn is like kind of in the middle of them. So he's going to be squaring the sun. He's also going to be squaring the moon. If you can hide inside, and preferably under a blanket, might not be a bad idea. All right, and again, in this case, it's going to be Scorpio and Taurus. So look in your natal chart and see where Scorpio and Taurus are. Those houses are going to be where you're going to feel the change the most. Okay, so I just took the doggy out for a walk, and we threw the ball in the baseball field, and I think the camera's in the same position. I don't know. Hopefully. Okay, continuity aside, May 24th. Okay, we have Mars entering Aries. Now, Aries is his home sign. Mars loves being there. So, this is going to be a great time for all things athleticism related, anything that like where you need fire and passion and drive. So if you've been like a lazy ass and you can't get your butt to the gym, try going on the 24th. I feel like it's going to make a difference. It sounds crazy, but it works. Astrology works. So for a month we're going to feel really revved up. So this is a good time to like get your butt in gear with things that you may have had trouble with before. You're gonna do better. Promise. On the 27th, we have a Venus square Pluto aspect. Now, this is not bueno. Venus is the planet of love. She's very like, and Pluto is the god of the underworld. He rules things like death and the mob. So when these two get together, now there are sparks, but it's more like crazy drama-rama. If you had to summarize Venus square Pluto, it could be like watching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. I mean, these were two people that were very like, too much muchness together, and it wasn't good. And they were like rebellious wild children, and it just got to be like crazy town. She like pooped in his bed, for God's sakes. So that's kind of the vibe of when Pluto is squaring Venus. Don't forget, a square is a headbutting aspect. It causes tension and conflict. And so what this is going to probably mean for us personally is that so in your personal life, you're probably going to have some drama and some throwdowns with your lover or possibly your friend, or it could be even your mom. Like, you're going to get into it and it's just going to be stressful. Try not to let it get to you. And the best way to deal with this kind of transit is know that it's not going to last long because Venus moves fairly quickly. And B, this happens 4 times a year. They come together in a conjunction, an opposition, or a square, two squares. So, 4 times a year, we're going to have like Crazy Town, Amber Heard pooping in the bed sort of thing. Hopefully not personally. Hope no one goes through that. Okay, moving on. A nicer aspect occurs the next day, again regarding Venus, but this time she slips into her home sign of Taurus, so she's happy. It's like she's been on the road for a long time and she's finally back at home, feeling comfortable, feeling happy. Don't forget, Aries, is hosting Mars, his home, and Venus is back at her house, so everyone's happy as far as like the passion, the love. People in relationships should have a great time for the next few weeks, except for the square with Pluto. And people who are single, this is a really good time to find love. So don't be on your phone, buried in your little robot. Like, put your head up, look around, smile at strangers that are cute. Don't be afraid to like go say hi and make eye contact. I know that's like hard to do now, but you gotta get back in the real world and, have human contact. And if it's hard to do, don't forget Mars being in Aries gives us, the balls to like do things that require bravery. And so don't be scared. Okay. Now, I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. On the 29th, Mars and Jupiter come together. That I feel like is going to affect the world stage more than us on a personal level. So I do feel like battles will increase. The Ukraine's probably going to be raging again at that time. Don't forget, Jupiter is the planet of abundance, and he brings like sometimes too much muchness to the scene. And Mars being the god of war, that could be a little tricky. So hopefully not. And okay, so that should give you a pretty good preview of what's to come in May. And don't be too wigged out by the eclipse. Again, you know, there's a great astrologer. He's passed now. His name was Daryl Martini. And I listened to him in high school on the radio. He was on WBCN, and every day he would give this astrological update. And whenever he signed out, he would say, it's a wise man who rules the stars, and it's a fool who's ruled by them. So that is a great adage to keep in mind during eclipse season. So anyway, you guys have a great month. Enjoy the spring, and we'll see you later.